Good afternoon. My name's Laurie Scott. I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak to you today. Thank you for the invitation to come here, although it was kind of strong-armed, it sounds like. But allowing me to come here and put a face to the struggles of some of the lowest paid workers in the public sector. I know that you're aware of the issues, that most of you support your employees, and that you want community social services to be strong and vibrant so we can all continue to offer the quality programs so desperately needed by so many in our province. I'm in my 25th year of working in the community social services in Kamloops, all with the same agency, Interior Community Services. I was a youth outreach worker for the first half of my career, and for the last 13 years, I've been a program coordinator with a variety of youth programs. I currently support a youth safe house and a street outreach program. Until very recently, I was also responsible for scheduling casual staff in our family services programs. I've been a shop steward with the British Columbia Government and Employee Services Union for 20 years. All of these roles have enabled me to have regular contact with both long-term and new co-workers in my agency and with other workers in the broader community social services. I knew that when I chose this work, I was not going to get rich, and that wasn't my objective. I wanted to work with young people, something I'm still passionate about. I've met so many people who were in this field for that same reason. They entered this profession to provide support to the disabled, to vulnerable women, at-risk youth, families, children and infants, all in community-based programs. They love what they do. They can't imagine doing anything else with their lives. They are committed, dedicated professionals, and they do amazing work in our communities. This is why when I speak to other community social service workers who have to leave the work they love because they can't make ends meet, it just breaks my heart. As the cost of living has steadily increased and wages in our sector have stagnated, I hear this from my coworkers more and more often. I personally know a number of people who work second jobs just to break even. Some go from one job to another, back to back, without a break. Many of them talk about burnout and breaking points. What I know is that workers in this sector are responsible for some of the most vulnerable citizens. They are responsible and give their heart and soul to the services they provide, and many workers in this sector are starting to run on empty. To make matters worse, the difficulty in hiring and retention means that there isn't always coverage when a worker needs time off, even if they're sick. And I know that hiring and retention is an area of concern for everyone in this room, and that you don't need me to tell you that that situation is desperate. You all know that filling positions is already hard, and that there is a steady flow of good people leaving community social services because they can't make ends meet. I wanted to share two stories with you. These reflect some of the day-to-day challenges faced by community social services workers. The first individual is the sole breadwinner for his family of 4. He worked with families in a rural community until his contract there ended, and he returned to working in the city his agency was located in. With his children in school, he decided to secure housing and arrange for schools before moving his family. While working full-time and traveling on weekends to be with his family, he attempted to find a home to rent. This was a daunting task. He couldn't find anything he could afford that would meet the needs of his family, their 2 small dogs, and their 1 cat. What he could afford was either too tiny or in desperate need of repairs. After more than 7 months, during which he stayed with his in-laws sleeping on their couch, he located a small home that would work. However, the family pets would have to go. At this point, he knew he had no choice. He simply couldn't afford anything else. His in-laws were able to take the cat, but not the 2 dogs. One had been with the family for 10 years, and one had been with them for 6. The dogs had to go. Although they were all devastated by this loss, the family was desperate to be reunited. They needed to put their family back together. He told me, "I feel like I've let them all down, but I can't afford anything else. I can barely afford this on my salary." The second person I want to tell you about is a single parent with 4 children who worked part-time in a residential program and took additional shifts whenever possible. In order to stretch the family budget, the food bank became a regular stop for this family. Nearly every month, the mom had to go in and pick up a food hamper. Although this was a necessity, She related how embarrassed it was. Now, she's working full-time and says she doesn't use the food bank anymore, but that some months are still pretty tight. She said she is sometimes afraid that she will get sick or hurt. She has no savings, so if anything happened and she didn't have any sick days, she wouldn't be able to take care of her children. Do you recognize these workers? Have you heard these stories? You may have, because the unfortunate fact is that these circumstances are not unique to these two individuals. This is a reality for too many workers in the community social services sector. I want to share now a couple of my own personal experiences. My brother-in-law, who had been working for an electrical supply company, got a job with the Ministry of Highways. He was working in the sign shop where they produced road signs. I was thrilled for him, but I have to admit it stung when I discovered that his starting wage was more than I was making after 10 years as a youth outreach worker with my agency. As part of his benefit package, he also received a pension, something I didn't actually get until 2010, when I'd already been working in the field for 22 years. As I said before, I love and I'm committed to what I do, but the reality of how low my income was in comparison to entry-level positions in other fields did have an impact on my enthusiasm. More recently was a situation that highlighted how lucky I am to have a close supportive family and work at an incredible agency with an outstanding management team. I was the primary caregiver for my grandmother for 15 years. In her 90s, she started to show signs of dementia. This condition progressed very rapidly, and the last few years of her life became a series of extremely unsettling events. Over time, she required more and more care as she was unable to be alone for long periods, especially at night. My life became work and grandma. My family did everything they could, but it became apparent that I needed more help. I started searching for home support for her or supported residential care in the community. I was astounded to find that the wait list for subsidized seniors care was 2 to 5 years. She was 94. There were places she could have moved into right away, but they cost thousands of dollars per month. Like many seniors, my grandmother lived on a limited income, and I was in no position to be able to pay that kind of money. I looked into home care, but again, there were long wait lists. And again, if I'd had the money, I could have hired someone right away. But thankfully, I have a family, and we were able to pull together and do what was necessary to ensure my grandma was cared for. In addition, I was supported by my employer, as there were times that the situation at home required that I miss work. I was lucky. Many of my colleagues across the province are not so fortunate. There are many people working in the community social services who do not have the kind of family support I do. They may not be in a position at work that allows them the flexibility to adjust their schedules. They, like me, often don't have the financial resources, so without the supports I had, both personally and professionally, they end up in a never-ending struggle to provide adequate care for their families while continuing to provide services to their clients. Our work demands that we are at our best. Our days are sometimes long and often stressful. Our clients can be challenging, violent, and/or heartbreaking, all in the same day. Our commitment keeps us coming back. We believe in what we do and in the incredible capacity of the individuals we serve. We believe our work is important in our communities. However, when we can't afford to take care of our own families, how can we continue to take care of anyone else? Thank you.